exercise testing. This is just the bare bones. We basically have a subject to exercise. We're measuring three things: oxygen uptake, carbon dioxide output, and ventilation. So how much they're breathing, how much oxygen they're using, and how much CO2 their body is producing from the metabolic effort. So what is VO2? VO2 is oxygen uptake. It's the rate at which the body is using oxygen. We measure it at the mouth. And so this is a sum of all of the processes that are happening in the body, right? When you exercise, your muscles demand oxygen, gets there by the blood, the heart pumps the blood, there's gas exchange in the lungs. So it's a whole system, right? It all happens. And VO2 measured at the mouth is basically the oxygen input to that system. And conversely, carbon dioxide is when all of those things are happening, metabolic processes generating carbon dioxide, and so we're measuring at the mouth. It's very important that we're measuring the carbon dioxide output. The second thing that's very important to understand about CPET is the respiratory exchange ratio, RER. So that is the ratio of VCO2 to VO2. And the respiratory exchange ratio is also known as the respiratory quotient in different subfields. It's basically at rest, this respiratory quotient is an indication of metabolic state. And it typically depends on, among other things, your diet. So pure carbohydrate metabolism has a 1-to-1 ratio of oxygen use and carbon dioxide output. So the stoichiometric ratio is 1. Pure fat metabolism, on the other hand, has a stoichiometric ratio of about 0.76. And so when you eat a mixed diet and you have mixed metabolism, typically in a mixed diet, your resting respiratory quotient or resting respiratory exchange ratio is about 0.86, give or take. It's important to note that the respiratory exchange ratio, number one, depends on, it varies with stress. So if a patient is hyperventilating because they're nervous, it'll be artificially elevated. And number two, it's supposed to rise with exercise after a certain point. Typically with the test that we're going to do, where it's very submaximal exercise, you may not see the respiratory exchange ratio rise at all. In fact, it may actually kind of fall, and this is sometimes what happens when patients exercise. It has to do with a lot of things, but a little variation is normal. When it goes really out of whack, below 0.6, above 1.0, then something, you should probably pay attention to that. And what is efficiency? So just kind of in the broad sense, I'm pretty sure Katie has already explained it, but efficiency is how much of the energy that you're actually taking in is going into the work. So there's other processes going on, and we're trying to see how much of the energy use is actually going into the exercise. So that's the bare bones background. So before we actually get to the test, what are the things that we need? So can you guys list what we need?
You mean all the equipment?
So very, very specifically, because you need a mouthpiece. So you need a mouthpiece, you need a nose clip, you need your headgear, and you need the valve. So just so that, can I get a glove? So these are basically just all the components that we're going to need, because you don't want to start the test and then realize that you don't have everything you need. So this is a two-way non-rebreathing valve. This right here is a spit trap, because when you breathe out, you'll get, there's spit and then there's condensate, so this is what collects it. And then there's a valve here, so where air comes in one way and then out another way. This end will be connected to the pneumotach, right? So this tube goes into the gas analyzer and the volume meter. And so it's going to measure the gas content of the breathing, as well as the rate and the depth of breathing. And the product is ventilation. And so this is connected to, I get this part. So we can. So there's 3 ends. Air comes in, air goes out. So when you breathe in, it goes in like, air goes in like this, and then out like this. Okay, so in like this and out like this, and this is where the patient breathes in. Of course, you need the hose connected to the machine. The other part you need is a mouthpiece, and so this is what the patient will actually be bending down on. And I have several of these here. These are the ones produced by Medical Graphics, and they're more comfortable, I think, than that thing right there. I mean, that's pretty big, right? And so it basically, yeah. So it's much. We just hold them up. You know, this is much easier to bite down on. The problem is that the opening is a little small. So you have to, when you're putting this on, and you should do this before the subject arrives, you just want to have a gloved hand and just kind of fit it all the way around. It's going to take some little effort. So it's not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
It's a tight seal, though.
Okay, so I just tried this yesterday, and I think it works best if you stick a hand in there and just a thumb in there and mash it in like that. And then make sure that so you actually want to make sure that it's straight, and I guess this doesn't rotate very much. Yeah, so when you put it on, just make sure that it's horizontal level with the patient's mouth. And the last thing you're going to need is a nose clip. So this is basically to ensure that all of the breathing goes into the machine, and you're not breathing through your nose. These are the ones that come with the machine. I personally like this a little better because you need 2 hands, but this you just need 1 hand. And then I also brought you a couple of heavy-duty backups. So some people just have larger noses, or some people have more slippery noses. Or it might be kind of hard to use this. So in those cases, just heavy duty. These disposable. These just clean them with alcohol and use them a few times. And you want to have a backup on hand, because if during a test the patient loses their nose clip, the next one should go on immediately, right? If you go for a period of time without the nose clip, then that data is going to be useless. Alright, so those are all the things you need to prepare. You need the valve, which needs to be cleaned, and I'm sure that the cleaning protocol is going to be discussed separately. You need a mouthpiece, a nose clip, and all the other stuff. Okay. Right there. You guys just went through the calibration, so everyone knows how to calibrate. There's 2 kinds of calibration, remember. There's a volume calibration and a gas calibration. Gas calibration is going to be performed immediately before the test. Volume calibration is performed beginning of the day. And you also want to make sure that the bike connects to the machine. So, and we actually had this problem last time. So when you turn on the bike, there's a power switch right there. So make sure it is plugged in. And when you turn on the bike, you may end up with this screen right here. You have to make sure, and you can lean in, you have to make sure that terminal is selected. And then you'll see this graph. If when you turn it on, it automatically goes to this graph, just swipe So when you swipe, it'll give you the menu. Just make sure that it's terminal that's selected. So if you don't select terminal, it won't connect. And then, as we go through the procedure, you'll see the point at which it makes sure that the bike is connected. Just so that you can make a note for yourself. You might want to do that once at the beginning of the day before anyone comes in, just to make sure that the bike is connected. Last time what happened was the bike wasn't connecting. It was like COM4, like some file is missing. I just unplugged and replugged the USB and it worked. So the stuff can be a little finicky. Last thing you should probably have on hand before the test begins is some water. People will come in and if their mouth is really dry, so one thing to note is that when you put the nose clip on, you can't swallow spit, or you can't do it well. It'll pop your ears. And so they might drool into the device, and then when you're breathing in without swallowing your spit, it'll dry out your mouth, it'll dry out your throat, and you have to do this for about 24 minutes, or a little longer than that, with the resting period and everything. So I think it's about 18 to 20 minutes actually. So in that time, if you're just breathing through a mouthpiece with a nose clip on, it can really dry your throat. So it might be a really good idea to have the subject drink a little water before you actually start. Okay. So make sure you explain the test to the person before you actually do anything. Are you guys gonna measure height and weight?
We've done that, yeah, in the morning.
Height and weight have been done already, so make sure you have that information. Seat height. Let's move this right here. Are you guys gonna get the? Okay. So when you do the seat height, it's very simple. You might want to actually have the person get on the bike first. So have them get on the bike and then just raise themselves up and then change the height. And I think what's dictated in the protocol is there has to be a slight bend at the knee at the bottom. So when the subject is at the bottom of I don't know what you call it, bottom of a revolution, there has to be a certain angle to the knee, and so that's what you're going to have to look out for. So you should do this before proceeding with the test, just to make sure that the seat height is good.
We do at baseline a practice run before the standardized resting period where we record their seat settings, bike settings, and give them a chance to practice 60 beats per minute for their cadence.
Excellent. So you'll have that done already.
Are we using that thing? Was it
The goniometer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And a plumb bob.
Okay.
That's the wrong name for it. Goniometer. It just sounds wrong. All right, so this is the very unruly headgear.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it works is one end goes in here and the other end goes in here, and this is the end that connects to the hose, right?
I thought it was
I
the
think it's the
plastic.
white one.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
I
it's
think
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that.
Yeah, I think it's
This one says it's the clear one. Okay.
Well, I guess we're gonna use the wrong one.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it here. It has arrows on top, so it says this and then this. So the outlet, I think, should be here.
Okay.
So all assembled, this is what it's going to look like. To fit the headgear, so before actually proceeding with the exercise, I think you should fit the headgear first. So make sure this is loose, and this is the back, kind of like a bicycle helmet. So you fit this, make sure it fits pretty well, and I'll demonstrate on Katie right now.
Yay.
And the other thing you want to do is you want to have these two screws loosened.
should you have the participant seated on the bike and then place the headgear, or headgear first and then seat?
I think it depends. It's up to personal preference. I might have the person sit down so that their head is still.
Mm-hmm.
You can have them sit here.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. So
Okay.
let's have Katie sit on the bike then. All right. So you want to make sure that this isn't like poking them in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So headgear goes on. And just tighten. So you want to make sure that it's snug, and then that you can adjust this, right? And so you're gonna the subject is gonna bite down on these two pieces and then close their lips all the way around it. Usually the best way to do it is to kind of just get it all the way in first, have them close their lips, and then bite down on the two pieces. So you're gonna do that.
Are there issues with gag reflex that you see with this, or?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that will bother me.
Alright. So Katie's now biting down,
Yep.
so that I'm gonna tighten this side, and then tighten this side. So now this is set. So then we're gonna take this out. Tighten a little bit. Take this off for now. Okay. So do that first before proceeding with the rest of it, because
Yep.
if they have this on the whole time and there's some fidgeting going on around here, then it's really uncomfortable. And you probably want to have a clean surface to put this on, because this is going to be in their mouth.
Yeah.
So just have somewhere to put it. I think that'll do for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so just do the fitting first before proceeding with the rest of this. I'm going to put this away. So to open up the test, go to VO2/metabolic testing. And then this is the information screen. According to whatever the mop tells you to do, when you're entering information here, it's probably just going to be initials, no, protected health information. You're going to enter height and weight, and the rest of this you shouldn't have to touch. All right, so initials, height, weight, age, and then click OK. And then this is the protocol screen. This should already be set up. You should never have to change this. If for some reason it's set to a different protocol, we have it saved as powers efficiency. So if you just, you just select the powers efficiency protocol and just look at it and make sure that it is in fact the powers protocol and that it hasn't been changed by somebody by accident. There should be a 4-minute warm-up phase. So, and this is all in seconds. So 4 times 60, 240. 4 minutes of 10, 25, and 50 watts. And then 2 minutes of 75 watts. This is all in the mop. If you ever forget, just refer to the mop. Make sure that this is good.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Cool down phase. Is the load 25 watts or should the load be 10 watts?
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Does the mop specify an active recovery?
It's a 2-minute recovery cooldown. I don't remember the watts.